port redevelopment project for the Castries and Soufriere waterfronts have caught the attention of the leader of the opposition, Alain Chastanet, since the announcement made by government. A port redevelopment initiative had been proposed by the former administration for the south of the island on the basis of what Chastanet says would ease congestion in Castries. He contends that such a project should create convenience and greater access to local tours and attractions, particularly for cruise passengers whose time on the island is limited. In a government statement this week, it has been disclosed that upon completion of the estimated $47 million project, Port Castries will be able to accommodate the world's largest cruise ships, arcade vendors will gain access to new and improved facilities, and Castries fishers will reap the benefits of a new fishing village and ferry facility in Bonans Bay. Making reference to the developer's ROI, Chastanet has asked whether GPH will be in control of the port and has called on the government to make the memorandum of understanding with the developer public.
I would like to think that he's a man of his word and that the MOU that was signed will be made available to the media and to the public of St. Lucia in order that everybody can adequately understand what is GP going to do. Is GP simply funding it for SLASPA, or is it that GP is going to be taking over the management of the port? Now, I can say to you, the cruise ships have not been in favor of a GP deciding what the fees are going to be.
Having had negotiations with GPH during his tenure as Prime Minister in the former UWP government, Chastanet noted that these port management and return on investment issues were serious considerations during the port redevelopment discussions.
I didn't see anything in the announcement that spoke to those issues. So who is going to decide what the fees are, the current fees, who is it going to go to, how is this going to be funded, and who is going to be running the port, right? But again, I want to say, I have nothing derogatory to say about GP. I think that this is all on the government, and I can speak firsthand of the negotiations that we had with GP. And these were all serious considerations.
Reporting for the Hot 7 TV News, I am Kareem Nelson.
At Kareem Nelson report taking us into our Beyond the Headlines segment, a special edition on this Free Up Friday edition of the show. With no further ado, let me introduce my very special guest who joins us now live on the Flow video line. The island's Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Tourism, Investment and Creative Industries, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. Thanks again for agreeing to come on, and welcome. Good morning, sir.
And certainly looking forward to our dialogue this morning. I'm sure we have some exciting stuff to talk about.
Absolutely, lots to talk about. So let's get down to it right away. The recent agreement, the memorandum of understanding between the government of St. Lucia and Global Port Holdings to take a look at Port Castries and the Soufriere waterfront. Tell us about GP and the intention here.
All right, let me start off by putting everything in context, because a lot has been said, and I may say a lot of absurdity has been said, but we all understand it is political mischief. Let us dissect it, let's deconstruct it. And you're free to ask me any questions you want. As much as I can answer, I will answer. Absolutely. Because there's been a call for transparency, whatever else. So let's take it historically. The simple truth is that over the years, the governments of the Eastern Caribbean have been trying to increase the head tax. When passengers come in here on the cruise ships, they are charged a head tax. And the leader of the opposition knows that very well. He was one of the biggest opponents of cruise tourism. And for many years, he had criticized cruise tourism. And one of the reasons, rightfully from him, is that the head tax was not sufficient to meet the cost of setting up the infrastructure for the cruise ship and to give them the experience that they wanted. And we've tried. We tried to do it as the OCS. It did not work. And the head tax is generally low. And because we are small and often divided, we cannot get out of it. What GPH can do, because of their size, because of the number of countries they operate in, they are the largest cruise port operators in the world. Ports in Europe, ports in, they just took over Puerto Rico. They took over Antigua in terms of the management of the cruise operations. They're building a massive port in Bahamas. They are able to say to the cruise lines, we are the managers of these operations, the cruise, not the cargo, the cruise, and therefore we want you, if you come in here, to renegotiate it first. They have the money, they have their size, and they are able to do that. So even when the last government was negotiating with GPH, and I think even signed an agreement, the same MOU, well, not the same, but an MOU, for us, it is not something which we would necessarily oppose. We, in the case of the airport, had suggested a PPP. And if we had been listened to, the situation the airport is in now with rising costs, delays, would not be the burden of St. Lucia, because in a PPP, the developer accepts the risk. But we were told you should not go into PPP, and therefore they went the way they did. And look at where it has placed us. Okay. The second point is...
Yeah, just let me comment, Dr. Hilaire, on the first point so that our citizens can have an understanding. The head tax which all the cruise passengers come in, what's it at now? And in your estimation with the figures, what's the necessary head tax?
I'll come to that. Let me give you the context. I'll come to that.
No problem.
Let me give you the context.
Right, okay.
Let me give you the context. The second thing is that for you to be able to upgrade and be able to offer the services with the bigger ships, and the bigger ships keep coming, you need to have investment. The last loan Slapper took to increase the berthing capacity at Point Seraphim from the NIC. They're paying for it now. They still owe about $20 million on that loan. They're now even bigger ships than the last set of ships we just modified the berths to accommodate. Slapper cannot go out and get financing now. Why? Because the last government, led by the leader of the opposition, slapped Slapper for a loan of $175 million US. Think about that. $175 million US loan on Slapper. Slapper is comatose. It cannot get money to upgrade Point Seraphim again to sort out the berthing facilities by La Carinal. Slapper is trapped because of a decision taken by the leader of the opposition when he was in government, because he rather moved from PPP to go and get a loan, a hit loan on Slapper's back. GPH will come in with the financing. And for us, that is excellent. And secondly, GPH will also pay off the Slapper loan. So I'm hearing a lot of talk about the port being sold for $40 million. The true value of the proposed investment is about $60 million, because it includes the development of the redevelopment of the waterfront in Soufriere, Castries paying off the Slapper loan that is on the books. It means now Slapper has more space to get money to deal with the cargo operations at Port Castries. So that is the thinking. But let me go on. The MOUs for Port Castries is not new. The leader of the opposition at claims we sold Port Castries. In 2008, he signed an MOU for Royal Caribbean. He has signed MOUs with other cruise lines for development of the ports in Saint Lucia. Was that selling the ports? It wasn't. He felt it was the best way to go. But also, let me tell you what has happened. We came into government in July last year, and we looked at the proposed MOU that he had agreed to in principle with GPH. And we said it was not good enough. It was not good enough. We wanted more. So we were able to say to GPH, we need you to put in the Soufriere waterfront. Again, we'll be bringing cruise ships from Castries into Soufriere. Nada. Not true. Soufriere is not going to be welcoming cruise ships from Castries. Soufriere waterfront will be redeveloped because we had a plan for Soufriere. When the government changed in 2016, the square was stopped. The waterfront was stopped. Eventually, the square was finished, and nothing had been done for 5 years to continue the plan to redevelop Soufriere. We are now going to continue that plan to redevelop Soufriere to make it a prime tourism spot. And the redevelopment of the Soufriere waterfront is to uplift and to elevate the waterfront, offering more opportunities for people in Soufriere to earn money from the tourism industry.
Not to bring cruise ships down to Soufriere to shift any business from Castries to Soufriere. So much has been said. Excellent, Dr. Hilaire. So much has been said, and I want our citizens to get an appreciation of what it is. So just hold on for me for two things. And the first question, the current head tax, what is it now? And what is, in your mind, necessary for us to be able to maintain and manage the cruise facility in Castries in terms of an increase in the head tax? And secondly, what's the difference? You spoke of improving Soufriere. What other differences can you point to between the MOU signed with GP by the last administration and the MOU that you have just signed?
Well, I mean, you asked me about the specific figures, what it is now, what will be needed for the overall operations. I think it's better Slasper personnel answer what it would the operational costs of the port. I mean, let me say the level of the policy and the reasons why government did what it did. The simple truth is that the head tax as it is now cannot meet the cost. Okay. And Slasper has said to us, actually, cargo operations is subsidizing cruise operations at the port. Subsidizing cargo is subsidizing cruise. So the head tax has not been changed from what Slasper tells us for more than a decade. Much more than a decade. So it's not enough. But I can arrange for you to have someone who can give you all the figures in terms of operational costs and what this one costs.
I'd appreciate that. I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, so we can arrange that. You ask about the difference. The difference is remarkable. It's remarkable. The difference means we now add Soufriere, the entire redevelopment of Soufriere, over 20 million US, the waterfront in Soufriere, to allow more yachts, more boat charters, more recreational boat visits, the waterfront in terms of cafes, performing space for our creatives, an extensive redevelopment of Soufriere waterfront. So as you approach Soufriere, it's a much more enticing site and creating more opportunities for our people. We also going to rationalize the front of the present La Carinas area, taking down the customs building, the shed, rationalizing that front area. We're also going to redo the vendors arcade, expand it to where the old fire station used to be. We're going to build a boardwalk from the vendors arcade all the way to Point Seraphim, something that has been touted in the past but has never been done. We will get it done. Just think of a boardwalk all that way. People sell cafes, arts and crafts, music, creatives. Think about that. By the vendors arcade, we're going to add 2 finger pairs. So transfers from Point Seraphim can come across there. Boat charters can also unload persons right there at the vendors arcade. We're going to build a fisherman's village in Banan. Again, ideas that have been there in the past, and we are going to implement it. So it is more comprehensive than what was agreed to in principle by the last government. And you know what is sad is that, Shannon, you already have to condemn the former Prime Minister and leader of the opposition for the inefficiency and the way in which they negotiated supposedly in the interest of Saint Lucia. That deal could have been signed by the last government. And if they had put the people of Saint Lucia first and the interest of Saint Lucia first, they would have already implemented it. We probably would still be in opposition if they had just put the interest of Saint Lucia first. That deal, I mean, I don't want to put out a lot of information you get in negotiations and discussions, but that was there to be done, but it had other interests. Let me also tell you, the leader of the opposition speaks about Viewport. Oh, what we should have done is Viewport. When we make our announcements on Viewport, you will hear about it. Again, they did not put the interest of Saint Lucia first. When Royal Caribbean and Carnival started discussing Viewport, you know what they were told? Don't do it. Go and join DSH and discuss the building of a cruise port in by El Pirata Cocodan area with DSH. Cruise lines didn't like it because they felt Saint Lucia was a golden opportunity. They were ready. But they were told, don't do it. Go and join DSH. DSH was put before the interest of Saint Lucia. Now we have come back in. We've continued discussing with the cruise lines, and we have visits coming over the next few days about what we're going to do in Viewport. They speak about loving the South and the South. What did they do in 5 years for the South? The range development was messed up. The country had to pay $20 million to range, or more from some accounts. What did they do except build a racetrack? So if they had put the interest of St. Lucia, we would not even be talking now. That deal was actually agreed to, well, not ours because we modified it, but they had a deal in agreement, but they did not implement it. And someone must ask him, why did they not implement it? Why was the investor?
The offerings from the former Prime Minister now is that, and he said it, quote, GP wanted too much. That's the offerings from him. I leave it in the public for people to assess. But that's what he's saying. GP wanted too much. They wanted the concessionaire of Point Serafin. Is that in the
That's not true. Huh? Can I tell you, when we looked at the agreement, that was not there. Point Serafin shopping complex is owned by St. Lucia. It is not of this deal. It was never in the deal.
Okay.
But you know, GP wanted too much. Maybe he wanted too much.
He also said that GP wanted control over the taxi concession at Point Serafin as well. Is that in the MOU?
That's not true. That's not true. The Point Serafin taxi arrangement is run by St. Lucia. All GP is doing is increasing the capacity of the boat to accommodate the largest ships in the world. That's all. They have nothing to do with the shopping complex.
Okay.
And they never asked us, and we never saw that. Never did.
Okay.
But how could GP be asking for too much? And we can come and sit with GP and get GP to agree to spend 20 to 25 million US in Soufriere. But so why couldn't he do it? What was he asking GP that GP was not willing to give? Why couldn't they focus on the fundamentals and get it done?
So let's talk about the GP arrangement. They will come in. They're the largest operator of cruise ports in the world. With them coming in and operating hours, we'll talk about the specifics, the time frame. How do you think it would affect, or will it affect our competitiveness anyhow as a cruise destination if negotiating with the other cruise lines?
But it certainly will enhance our competitiveness. Now, let me explain to you. At this point, we just signed an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. We now have to go and do all the consultations with stakeholders. We have to meet the vendors. I didn't even speak to you about Banan and what it will mean for the redevelopment of the Banan area.
We need to spend some time there.
Trust me. I mean, we're going, and again, let me say to you, these are plans that have been on the table for a very long time. And they had an opportunity to get it done when in government they did not do it. And basically, a fisherman's village will be built there, allowing, some of the persons who live there, we will relocate them. The fishermen will get new quarters, new restaurants, a boardwalk, entertainment area. The whole area will be redeveloped, traffic management systems put in place, whatnot. It could have been done by them, but they did not do it. So we will be sitting with all the stakeholders, discussing with them, sharing ideas with them. GPH will bring down their technical team that will listen to the ideas, the concerns, and then we will finalize a concession agreement with GPH that will give the details. What we have signed is an MOU, really is a statement of intent, what we hope to achieve, what we hope to do, and what the minimum amount of money they will spend, and basically the rights that they will have. But everything they will do has to be done in consultation with the government of St. Lucia. And, like the Prime Minister said yesterday, all this talk about we sell the ports, then show us the bill of sale. I mean, when we said there was a deal with GP and BSH, we were told that's not true. We provided the agreement. Show us the bill of sale where the port was sold. But there's not going to be any sale of any port. GPH will be managing the cruise operations. That means they will ensure that the services and the facilities for the cruise operations are world-class and certainly competitive to anybody else in the region. In exchange for that, they will manage, we will collect the head tax, we'll pass it on to them, they take their share, we give them their share, we keep our share. We've also agreed that in the future, they will negotiate for increases in the years to come. Once they get increases, we'll propose how to share the increases. They will work with us to manage the fisherman's village, the new vendors arcade, and basically we will agree in the concessions agreement how we share any returns that come. So GPH is bringing to us the financing to upgrade the standards and the competitiveness of the port, including Soufriere. And in exchange, we will share the head tax with them for a number of years. Thereafter, they don't get a share. And we'll also discuss with them how to share the management of the facilities and any returns that come from it.
My question again, Dr. Hilaire, and thanks for all of that. How will it affect our competitiveness with the other cruise lines, or will it at all?
Well, I think the big challenge will be for us to get the increases that we want. The cruise lines have not been given increases for years upon years upon years. But Antigua just signed with GPH a couple of years ago, last year or so, and they've already redone their ports. And the cruise lines are coming and have agreed to increase the head tax already.
Okay.
So GPH is building a new terminal in the Bahamas. They've just taken over Puerto Rico, the management of the cruise operations at Puerto Rico. So they are already in the market speaking to the cruise lines about new head tax and how it's going to operate. So we're not going to be uncompetitive by that alone. We're going to offer enhanced facilities. We're going to be more attractive. And GPH has also agreed to help us in developing the product, what it is we will offer cruise passengers when they come on shore. And I think all of that will enhance our competitiveness. Soufriere will be a fantastic place to visit for Castries. And if I can go into even more details with you. There were so many proposals and the project that was inherited, the Tourism Competitiveness Program project, that was going to really transform Port Castries and offer a better experience for our cruise passengers. Just last week or week before, we started breaking down the old marketing board building. And in that area, we're going to redevelop it into a box park, which will be about 30 to 40 units where our locals can own, stalls there and offer more, products to the cruise line passengers. We have to work on transforming Castries to be a better experience for our visitors and locals as well. So Castries is going to be a really exciting place when this project is completed, hopefully in the next 2 to 2.5 years.
Excellent. Let's talk some details of the MOU as much as you can now, because it's early days. How long will GP maintain management of the cruise side of the ports? What's the split like, if you can tell us? Is it 50-50? Is it 70-30? How much are we to gain here?
Well, in terms of the MOU, like I said, we still have to sign a concession agreement, which is really where the final details will be contained. The MOU is a statement of intent, what we intend to do. At this point, I will not reveal the details of the MOU, except to say that we will share the head tax. I will make a statement to Parliament at the right time, once we've concluded our negotiations. For me to come and release, okay, it's going to be shared 60-40, 70-30, we've not gone into negotiations yet on the concession agreement. We'll be declaring too much at this point. We are still in negotiations. The MOU is a statement of intent. Yeah. We expect them to do A, B, C, D. We plan to do X, Y, and Z, and then we will sit down and negotiate the details. I will not be irresponsible to give details, when we've not even started negotiating the concession agreement. You know what is really fascinating, and it amuses me? That this government the opposition has really flared up when we announced we signed the MOU, because they missed a golden opportunity to do something meaningful for this country. They missed it, and it's burning them. It's really eating at their core, because they had an opportunity to do what Bahamas did, what Puerto Rico is doing, what Antigua is doing. They did not put the people of St. Lucia first. They had their own personal interest ahead of St. Lucia, and we've come in, renegotiated it, what they agreed to, and then we're going to deliver, and that's eating them.
Two things on that, Doc, and we have a caller, so just hold on. Two things on that for me. The leader of the opposition may argue as well that you had a perfect opportunity with DSH as well, and that deal was left unsigned. That's just a caveat that I threw there.
That's a good point. That's a good point, but let me answer it for you. Yeah. I love that point. Let me answer it. You see, you open that door, so let me go through it. Let me tell you something. I was the one who was leading the negotiations with DSH for almost a year. And Dr. Anthony was Prime Minister then said to me, Ernest, as negotiating team, bring a draft agreement on the table that is reasonable and fair to the people of St. Lucia. Now, as a negotiating team, and if you're involved in professional negotiations, there are different strategies and methodologies of negotiating. And we were working it out. We found so many of what we were being unreasonable we could not come to a deal. Dr. Anthony said he was not going to go out and boast about the estate unless he was comfortable that there was going to be a deal that was in the best interest of St. Lucia. The government changed in June 2016. And by July, 4 weeks later, an agreement is signed. And we're wondering, but wait, we are the negotiators. We know how bad the draft was on the table. There were some good things in it, huh? But then how could they have signed that in 4 weeks? How could in 4 weeks the government have overcome all the challenges we had for the last year? We said something was wrong. Something was wrong. And then we got a copy of the agreement. And it was worse than what we said we were not accepting. Things we had rejected a year before as totally unacceptable was brought back in, and the government signed it within 4 weeks. So we had an opportunity and we were working towards an agreement that was going to be fair and reasonable to St. Lucia. But this government, the last government came in totally oblivious to the interest of St. Lucia and what was best for the South and best for the people of St. Lucia, and signed the DSH agreement. And it is haunting us up to this day. That was the first sign of irresponsibility on the part of the leader of the opposition. He demonstrated then, within 4 weeks, that he was not suited to be a leader of this country. He did not have the interest of St. Lucia at heart. And within a few months of being in government, we had the largest demonstration on the street of St. Lucia. He tried a few days ago to have a demonstration, and we saw what happened.
Can we move on now? Let's move on now, Doc. We hold you to your word, sir, that the MOU will be made public, maybe not kosher now to do so.
No. Well, I didn't say it was going to be made public. I said the details, we will be having a discussion on the details and the arrangement, as best as we can. Okay. Because we also have to consult the other side, because they too is a public company, they have agreements, they have their own, requirements. As much as we can say and discuss in public, we will do so. Okay. And I think we're going to ask GTH, in an attempt to be even more transparent, when they do come to St. Lucia, to have meetings with the press and explain what they do in other countries and what they plan to do in St. Lucia. Because nothing to I tell you, I'm so excited about the deal and the future of St. Lucia and the possibilities for St. Lucia, because we're working hard and we're delivering. And the more we deliver is the more desperate the opposition will come. You will get. So we will, as much as possible, even ask GPH to meet with the media and take questions that they think, they can answer. And we won't even be there. They will answer it on their own.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Dr. Hilaire, do you think possibly that there was an opportunity for us to get a better deal? I
can't hear you. You're breaking up. Say that again. Can you repeat?
Would it be possible? Do you think it would have been possible for us to get a better deal had we opened up the idea of port redevelopment to open bidding and not necessarily zoom in on this one particular operator of ports and investor?
That's a good point. And let me answer it for you. I know in 2008, the same leader of the opposition, Alan Chasney, had signed a deal with Royal Caribbean. I don't know if you remember that. You might be a little too young to remember that. I'm sure, Labon Senior might remember it.
Not too young at all, I remember.
You remember. Yes. But he didn't go out for open bidding, huh? He did a deal with Royal Caribbean, which could have been a very good deal. It never came through. In 2018, and I can play the recordings for you, the leader of the opposition announced to the whole country he had signed an MOU with Royal Caribbean and Carnival for the redevelopment of the port. But how does one become so bizarre that you actually announced it? You said I had signed an MOU. And now you're saying another government signed the MOU, they've sold the port. So, but he didn't go out for open bidding. But what really has happened is that we came in as a government, and remember, government is contiguous. It's supposed to be contiguous. When a deal is signed with the government of St. Lucia, it is signed with the government of St. Lucia, not the Labour Party, not the United Workers' Party. So you have to respect the agreement signed by the government of St. Lucia. But what we can do as a responsible government is to say, look, we have looked at the proposed MOU, or we've looked at the MOU that was agreed to in principle, and we believe you should give us a chance to raise some concerns with you. That's how you negotiate. They can say to you, no, we're not renegotiating, the government has agreed to it, it is what it is. But generally, investors and developers don't like to do that because they don't want to be on the bad side of government and its statutory agencies. So then we sit with them and we say, well, look, you see this point, we don't really like it. Can you rethink it? Can you give us 5 percentage points more? We say to them, well, it doesn't make sense to develop the berthing by Place Carénage, but you do nothing about the walkway from Point Seraphine. Can you do something about that for us? We estimate it will cost 2.5 million US or 4 million US. Can you add it in? And they will say, well, if we add it in, our overall capital outlay will increase. Can we get X, Y, and Z in return? We say to them, look, can you do Banan bigger? Because there'll be traffic issues. You need to rethink the traffic and you negotiate the agreement. And then we say to them, you know what? Soufriere is our primary tourism spot. Can you add Soufriere? No, Soufriere will cost so much. We say, well, okay, maybe we can give you more if you will add Soufriere. And you negotiate and you negotiate and you negotiate. But the intent of the government was to make it better for the people of St. Lucia. That is our motivation. That is our driving force. So, you know, you asked whether we could have gone out to tender. If it was virgin with nothing in place, then you can think about doing that. But if there was already an agreement on the table, there was already something agreed to in principle, then we cannot just cast it aside and put ourselves in challenges and difficult situations. We have to approach the party involved and see how we can get a better deal from them.
Right.
You may not, or you may succeed in doing so. And that is how we've approached it.
I'll do some digging here to see if we can uncover that MOU, which you said was signed by the former administration. Dr. Hilaire, just hold on for my technician says 60 seconds. We must end the call and reconnect. I know you have a 9 o'clock, but it won't take more than 60 seconds, so just hold on. There's lots more on the back end of this. The Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Tourism is online with us, Dr. Ernest Hilaire. We're talking about the recent memorandum of understanding signed between the government of St. Lucia and Global Port Holdings for the redevelopment of Port Castries and the Soufriere waterfront. What's in it for us? What's at stake? What are some of the issues which require clarification? We're going through all of them right now this morning. The phone lines are open at 4500-777, 4500-777 is the number that you have to call as well. We should be back on with Dr. Hilaire in just a few seconds, quicker than I thought, Katie. Give us a call. WhatsApp, we're also open, 5840600 as well. A few questions coming in on the WhatsApp. We'll get to those. Dr. Hilaire is on. Not yet, Katie? I hope I didn't lose him like we lost him the first time. Remember the first time we had Dr. Hilaire on. There's so much that we still must touch on. It's live television. We thank you for joining us this morning. We go up until 9. We're definitely going to cut off at 9 this morning because the minister has 9 o'clock scheduled appointment as well. We have somebody on the landline, Dan? No, nobody's on the landline. There seemed to be an issue down on the inside here. I can hold on if you can come check it in quickly. Oh, wow. So my co-producer, if you're listening, we have to ask Dr. Hilaire to come back on as quickly as possible, please. Let's try to facilitate that for me so that we can move on with the discussion here with Global Port Holdings. $47 million being invested and injected in the ports in Castries and Soufriere, some $47 million. If it's a call, you can patch it through. Again, co-producer, can we please ask Dr. Hilaire to log in again on the Zoom meeting? Our humble apologies. I would hate to miss any time with the doctor this morning. Okay, I'm told that he has requested 2 to 3 minutes. Good that we will get somebody from SLASPA to come talk specifics on the management and the figures with us. And good that the minister will encourage GP when next they're in town to meet with the media. Yeah, so he should be back on shortly. Somebody's asking a quick question. Let me go through it. Is there a risk to have GP to do the ports? They have investment in most ports around the region. This could ultimately give them governance power that can stronghold that they can use as a stronghold. Is there a risk this could stronghold the region? Please ask the question. I'll definitely do. Dr. Hilaire is reconnecting now. 4500-777, the Flow landline, and 5840600, the Flow WhatsApp platform as well. Dr. Hilaire, you back with us? He is logging in. I could see that he is logging in. So we give him a few more moments. Excellent. Thanks for coming back on. Let's move quickly because we time is against us. A question from a listener who asked, is there a risk, Dr. Hilaire, to have GPH to do the ports? They have investment in most ports across the region. This could ultimately give them governance power that can stronghold the region. Is there a risk there?
A very good question, actually. It is something that has been asked even by more developed countries. Mm-hmm. As you know, look at the United Kingdom, for example. Gatwick is not run by the government of the United Kingdom or Heathrow. There are many ports in the world and many airports in the world that are run by private interests. Mm-hmm. Well, not run, not owned, but they lease it, they run it. And therefore, they've always been the question, should you let what is seen as a strategic asset be leased and managed by private interests? But what governments have done is that to ensure the essential aspects of it in terms of national security and other reasons remain in the hands of the local authorities. So if you go to the United Kingdom, when you land, immigration is still border force. It's not a private entity. Customs is still customs. National security is still national security. So somebody can run your commercial operations, but not your security operations or your other vital operations. So you can actually have a strategic asset that is not, run commercially by, government. Look at, even in Saint Lucia, look at Lucilec. Lucilec is not owned by the government of Saint Lucia in majority. It's not. It's a private entity that owns most of the shares in Lucilec and has done so ever since Sir John Compton, gave Lucilec, the rights that they have. So that happens. It all comes down to the kind of arrangement that you put in place for the overall management of the facility. So what GPH will be doing is managing the cruise operation. They're not going to be involved in cargo. They're not going to be involved in security. They're not going to be involved in any vital operations at the seaports. That's not their business. It's the cruise aspect of it. And for us, we are comfortable that another entity can manage the cruise operations at the port.
Well, what happens now to the proposed home port facility in Vieux Fort?
Well, again, even this, the one, again, you open that door and I really want to go through it because, a lot has been said about it. If the last government, when they came in 2016, had not terminated the arrangements we had with the IFC, the World Bank, because we were in a process that was being managed by the IFC to establish a PPP to build up the airport. That was stopped. We lost years. Then they started and did whatever they did and made SLASPA take a loan of $175 million. And we wondered if there should be a hurricane, an earthquake, or disaster, this is going to slaughter us in this country because we cannot carry, as a small country, such a huge capital investment is such a risk. We were told by the leader of opposition, we know nothing about business. He is a CEO running this country like a business, like a company. As it turned out, nobody foresaw. COVID came, inflation, prices are going up by 40, 50%. SLASPA must find the money now. SLASPA. If prices move by 40%, SLASPA has to find it. But part of that arrangement was that the former Prime Minister redesigned, asked for a redesign of the airport to allow for what he says is home porting. Now, there are different views. There are people in the cruise industry that said, we didn't need all what your last government proposed to do. We didn't need that. That aspect that the last Prime Minister added increased the cost of the airport significantly, and he claimed it was for home porting. And the airlines, the cruise lines have said to us, this is not how they really want this done. And they have explained to us what they want done and how they believe it can work in St. Lucia. So we did not stop the home porting discussion. We actually encouraged it. So one particular cruise line continued to do all the dive studies, the wave motion studies. They designed the port facility in Viewport already with the anticipation that the airport will be finished and that we can have home porting. Then, of course, you know, COVID caused some financial crisis, so they're having issues trying to discuss the financing of it. We said, you know what? We will go out there and find investors. In case they cannot sort out the financing over the next few months, we will look to bring in investors that will work with them with the financing to make sure it happens. We are committed to doing it. We are committed, and we're very close to making an announcement on the future of the port in the South. Nobody loves the South more than us. Trust me. That the South it defines us in many ways. And just look at that. I mean, sometimes, you know, look, Shannon, you want to just laugh, and sometimes you just want to, you feel pained by the comments that are made. The hotel in Black Bay could have been built by the last government. They messed it up. The developers sued the government, or took action to sue the government.
That's
we
range.
had to set it
That's
up.
range. That's range, correct?
Range. The Canals Resort started years ago, has been stalled. We are now getting it back on track. The South could have been better off. The cruise operations in the South could have been done already. They were stopped. They were told to go and work with VSH instead. But what was the South promise? 23 islands, a causeway to Maria Island. Has that happened? It has not happened. I don't even want to talk about St. Jude because we'll come back on your program another day and talk about St. Jude.
No problem.
So let me just finalize and tell you, we are committed to home porting. We actually have over the next few days some major parties coming down to St. Lucia, cruise lines and investors. We'll try to bring them together to be able to see and make an announcement very shortly as to the future of the South when it comes to home porting and cruise operations.
Hold on for me a minute. We have a caller online. Let's patch that caller through. But you're giving us $1 million soundbite that I'll pass on to Sherry-Ann this evening. Nobody loves the South more than we do. That's a $1 million soundbite.
I wasn't aware when I was coming on that you would be taking calls. But anyway, let's go.
I'm so sorry. That's the nature of the platform. I'm sorry that we.
No, let's go.
Caller, good morning.
You ready for me?
Yes, sir.
Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, Dr. Hilaire, good morning. Yes, it's really two questions.
I hear what he's saying. Shannon, you might have to repeat it for me. I cannot really hear what he's saying.
My technicians, let's work on that quickly, and I will repeat Dr. Hilaire. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, it's two questions on the broader perspective. Do we, as St. Lucians, believe that we have the intellectual capacity to execute such projects of that magnitude? Are these projects too big for St. Lucians, or should we continue to pack our brains and not use it to the fullest extent? The second question is, let us assume that there is a group with plans to develop Port Viewport. What should that group now do with those plans now that the minister says that they have plans for Viewport? Are we being invited as nationals to bid on or to share our ideas on these projects, or should we continue to sit by and allow others to come in and do for us what we should be able to do for ourselves in the 21st century? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, caller. Let me quickly paraphrase Minister, if you didn't hear. He is asking, do we not have the intellectual capacity, the know-how, and the wherewithal to handle such projects of magnitude on our own as St. Lucian people?
Okay, that's the first part. I think I got that, and I got the essence of the second. But
okay.
So, Shannon, let me tell you something. Let me say, with all due respect to the caller, I believe in my people. I believe in an intellectual capacity. I'm a proud St. Lucian, a proud West Indian. And I don't want anybody to question our intellectual ability. We produced 2 Nobel laureates in St. Lucia, one in literature, one in economics, the economics of development. I know our people are capable. We have some of the brightest people. We're not saying we're the brightest people in the world. We've gone to the best universities. We have excelled. We worked in the biggest companies in the world. We have excelled as St. Lucians and as West Indians. Don't tell me, Shannon, that you, as a young enterprising person, do not think you have the ability to go and work at CBS and CNN and ABC. If you believe that, if you think that way, I'm telling you, my brother, I'm really disappointed in you. Because we have talent, we have ability. I believe we can take on the biggest projects in the world. I'm not saying we can do it all by ourselves. I'm not saying that. We certainly need expert advice where we fall short. But the same way our people go to work in New York, in Paris, in Dubai, in other capitals of the world, contributing to their intellectual capital, I believe we can do the same for our people in St. Lucia. So I'm not afraid of that. I have a lot of faith, in our people and our capacities. The second question was
whether or not, if there is a group of people with special interest to develop the port in Vieux Fort, and I'm guessing from the caller that is St. Lucian interests, what happens now that you're saying you probably have already identified investors?
Well, you see, that the issue is, if there's any St. Lucian investor that has 100 million US or whatever that they can invest in the port, they would need to declare it. I mean, I am not aware of any St. Lucian who has that kind of access to financing to want to do it. And we have many exciting ideas in St. Lucia for development. And let me tell you, this government believes, and the Prime Minister said it over the last couple of days, that a vibrant, successful St. Lucian economy must essentially rest on a very vibrant and successful local business class. It has to. You see, in projecting the model for economic development for us, there's a role for the big foreign investor who has huge capital outlay and that will do certain projects. But we must always create the space for our local investors to also come to the fore and invest according to the capacity that they have. So we are very supportive. Yesterday, we launched a community tourism program and agency in Ancillary, and that's what it is about. This government is making over $20 million available through loans, through grants, for St. Lucians, people who not normally have access to capital, to get capital to start off their own small business. We're going to do it in the youth economy. We're going to do it with the micro-enterprise fund that is going to be set up in the Ministry of Commerce. Between those 3 agencies, almost $50 million will be available for St. Lucians who have not really had access to financing to come and do it. And the community tourism, for example, the government is making $5 million available to give you grants to supplement the loan that you will be taking to ensure you can enter the tourism industry and own part of it. We'll be giving up to $100,000 unsecured if you can come with a viable, exciting idea that can contribute to community tourism. And we're doing so because we believe exactly what the essence of what the last caller said. We need to create space for our local entrepreneurs, young people with bright ideas, people who have had ideas but have had no access to financing, to be able to do so and to enjoy part of the benefits pie and not allow only one sector to be able to dominate the benefits in St. Lucia. So I believe there's a space for the big investor and there's space for the St. Lucian entrepreneur. And we need to create a larger business class. I heard this morning, President Biden put it so well. He was chastising the Republicans and he said, this idea of trickle-down economics and trickle-down benefit, where you give all the benefit to some at the top, and hopefully they will allow the benefit to trickle down, and you say, no, that's not his approach. You really do it from bottom up and middle up. Yeah. And I think in many ways, that's what we want to do. Say to those at the bottom who traditionally can't get financing, we're going to make it available to you. And then the wealth will flow. And from the middle, those with the academic, the professional skills, the entrepreneurship, we're going to assist you so the middle can get larger and larger. Yeah. And the Prime Minister put it well yesterday. You know, the average St. Lucian have dreams for their child to become lawyers, doctors, engineers, fishermen, and to become different professionals achievers in their own right, and we need to give them that opportunity. So when we go out to negotiate, that is what motivates us, to create opportunities for the ordinary average St. Lucian to now be able to enjoy of the benefits that the industries in St. Lucia can bring, to enjoy the prosperity of St. Lucia. And that's what drives us. And that is what will constantly motivate us to do what we do.
Yeah. Definitely, sir, your agenda, an ambitious one. It's not the first time around for you. You've been around, so you know these things take time within government, but it's of the interest to all St. Lucians to see some of those ambitious plans succeed. And you appreciate that a time will come when all the rhetoric will be weighed as to how much you've delivered. But we look forward to what is exciting plans. Two more from me quickly on the port deal, and then we close because not much time left. SLASPA, sir, would you agree that the SLASPA brand has been a standout in port administration across the region?
Yeah, there was a time when SLASPA easily was seen as one of the best managed ports in the Caribbean, but certainly in the Eastern Caribbean. And SLASPA has a very good reputation when it comes to the general management of the port. I mean, I must say in the last few years, some of us would have expected better of SLASPA in some of the decision making that was made, but they've provided us with explanations as to why certain decisions were made, and we can understand that it was sometimes beyond them.
Yeah. What's the interface with them and GP, and whereas GP will hold the concessionaires for Port Castries, what role would SLASPA have? Will they still maintain oversight in some aspects?
No. The port is owned and managed by SLASPA on behalf of the government and people of St. Lucia. That does not change. And I think SLASPA themselves would be very happy, I can tell you, for that loan to be taken off their books, which means now they can now access financing to enhance port operations. And SLASPA will also be very happy that there will be the upgrade of the ports, and it will not be at their expense. So I think SLASPA at the end of the day, and I must tell you, before this new arrangement was finalized, the Ministry of Finance was very involved, SLASPA was very involved. So, we know we are all on the same page.
Excellent. And let's talk the designs. Ambitious plans, consultation with the Soufriere people to come, especially Barons Drive, the fishers in Banans, other stakeholders, and design that boardwalk for us, because many St. Lucians think it's a walkover bridge. Design it for us.
Well, I mean, and like I said, a lot of things are still conceptual. We need to have the consultation stage now. And you need a conceptual, because if you're going to make a statement of intent, you have to be able to say it's going to look like this. It's not going to be a flyover bridge from Point Seraphine to the Vendors Arcade. It'll actually be a boardwalk along the waterfront. So if you're in the government buildings and you look down, you will actually see a boardwalk. You will see small cafes. You will see small outlets for people selling art and craft and leather works. There'll be an area for creatives to perform. Somebody even sent a note to me and told me, finally put up the Independence Monument. This thing was supposed to have gone up for more than almost 3 decades or whatever.
That's Alwyn Sonoma's monument, correct?
Yes. So somebody did send a note to me and tell me, make sure once and for all we put up the Independence Monument. It's not for me to decide, these are national decisions. But you can almost close your eyes and visualize, a boardwalk stretching from the Vendors Arcade all the way to Point Seraphine. And some of us who've had the benefit of traveling to other parts of the world can tell you what it can look like if you visualize it. If you visualize Banan, where the fishermen are, that's been redeveloped, and all persons living in the area get a chance to participate in economic activity. So I believe it is going to be exciting. We're going to go into the consultation phase now, and then we'll be able to present the final concepts to the people.
Okay, we're wrapping up. We'll take this one call. Good morning, you're on.
Hello.
Hello? Yes,
Hello?
sir. You're on.
Hello?
Yes,
Hello?
caller.
Yeah, I'd like to base a question to the minister.
Sure.
I'd like to base a question to the minister.
Let me ask you
Pertaining to the development in the harbor.
First, can you just turn down the volume on that device that you're listening to and continue quickly, caller?
I live in Castries, and I have my concern. My concern is that we have the rivers coming from Marsha, and we have the rivers coming from New Village. We have the thing dropping off collecting the water in the gardens, which all dump into the Castries Harbour. I used to sail for years. All the debris, we're talking about plastic, trees, washing machines, cushions, chairs, everything, all the garbage that comes from the Marsha River and coming from the Saint Lucia area and the Conway area goes into the harbour. That development y'all have planned for the harbour. All that plastic and rubbish coming from the Fulasho end, it goes and it settles down in the Bannon area, which you're all aware of. It settles on the beach down at the end by the madhouse on the beach there. That area there, all that garbage and stuff, the pollution. Plus, you have on the site where you just mentioned, the guy said you want to put up the statue, which is on the side by Saint Lucia to the waterfront there. That's across the bridge, where they have that little, I think that's where he wants to put up the monument. If you're not aware, when you're walking on the sidewalk, approaching that little area there, where I think you'll have some benches there now with a little monument.
Yeah.
They have the Wasper pump. The sewage coming out of Saint Lucia is pumped from Wassa, where they have the new park there, where the Central Castries where they build the park. There's a sewage thing dropping off water there, right in the water there. So when you pass in, you will see all that black sewage water is being dumped.
So you want to know, caller,
right?
You want to know, caller, what's going to be done with that sewage outlet and the debris in and around the harbour?
Because if you're going to put a walkway there, what you said, a boardwalk, and you have that stench thing there, these things you have to take care of this before you could think of and the garbage.
Thank you,
so
caller.
This is my point there.
Thank you so much, caller.
This is my point.
Minister, he's asking, what's the plan to address the Wasco manhole that pumps wastewater, it looks like, into the harbour, and the debris situation in and around the Castries Harbour?
Yeah, I'm aware that Wasco has been looking at this problem for a number of years. Under Dr. Kenny Anthony, I know a comprehensive study was done with a number of options, presented as to how they can deal with wastewater management into the Castries Harbour. It is something that we will look at, and during our discussions, we certainly will, engage Wasco to have a discussion on how this can be addressed in the long term.
Yeah, excellent. Do we have another caller? Not just yet. We maybe have time for two more quick ones. The minister has to go shortly. How long will the proposed project take, sir?
Again, when we finalize the concession agreement, which we don't know if it's going to take 3 months, 2 months to negotiate, we hope it certainly on our side that by the winter season of 2024, this should be implemented, which means not next year, but the following year, we should have everything in place.
And satisfy citizens that for $47 million US investment plus the $20 million for SLASPA loan, we would not have given off too much to the developer here.
Well, I'll tell you something, Shannon. It's something you always have to consider when you're involved in business negotiations. If you want to speak with investors and you say to them to come to invest in your country, they want to know what's the ROI, the return on the investment. And they have the option of going to invest in other countries. And they also have the option of investing in their own countries where they have many venture funds and other investment funds. And they will calculate what the ROI I can get by putting my money into a venture fund and getting X amount at the end of the day, or how much money can I get when I invest in St. Lucia. And at the end of the day, you have to be able to offer to the investor a return on his investment that will make him want to come to your country as against somewhere else. At the same time, you have to ensure what it is that you want done in your country. And like I said to you, SLASPA starts off with many challenges. SLASPA cannot get the head tax increase. We've tried that for 20 odd years. And secondly, by the leader of the opposition when he was prime minister, causing SLASPA to take a loan of $175 million US has suffocated SLASPA where they cannot go and raise capital. So you then have to ask yourself, do we allow the Port Castries to remain as is for another 20 years because we don't have the financing to upgrade it? Or do we speak of an investor that was brought on the table by the leader of the opposition and see how we can finesse what was agreed to with him so we can get more? Because remember, and I need to make that point, what we have done is to get more, to get more than what was being offered. So I believe at the end of the day, we have benefits, the developer have benefits. And in negotiations, at the end of the day is, you have to meet my interest, I have to meet your interest, and both parties can move forward. I'm satisfied that St. Lucia will be the better for it.
Excellent. Citizen question, what is GP's social responsibility like?
Well, I mean, one thing GP is known for is their social responsibility. GP has an outstanding record wherever they've been for the kind of social responsibility they have. But some of those issues will be finalized and dealt with in the concession agreement. Now, I think I have to run now.
All right. You'll have to go. You'll have to go, sir. But you and I don't live with our heads in a box park anywhere. We very much have our heads to the ground. Concerning to all other citizens, and I'll leave it there, the crime situation, directly or indirectly, your constituency has been impacted by the last 4 homicides. Where are we going to find a solid response to this crime situation?
Well, I mean, quickly, it has to be a collaborative effort. It has to be bringing all agencies together. And I am a person who is rooted in social development, rooted in it. And I believe historically, not just in St. Lucia, but in many parts of the world, people believe crime should be dealt with essentially through law enforcement, the criminal justice system. And even when they bring in social interventions, it's a small part of the approach. I believe we have to reverse that. We have to be able to invest more in social intervention programs to complement the criminal justice system. And I am a strong advocate for this. It is why, I've been associated, for example, with programs like STEP and SMILE and whatnot. And we were ridiculed in the past when we introduced a STEP program, where you're giving people work and they by the roadside, they don't have contract. And remember the leader of the opposition severely criticizing STEP and firing 1,000 St. Lucians. I believe we need more programs like this, investing in communities. A lot of the social activities, the community activities, we need to do more of that. And we need to also create the economic activities so our people can get opportunities to have sustainable livelihoods. So it's a collaborative effort, and I'm telling you personally, it's true I am primarily leading the economic, and business, agencies in some ways. I believe strongly in heavy investment in the community development and the social intervention program. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
We'll talk again.
We'll talk again.
We'll talk
I have
again.
a lot more to share with you.
We'll talk again, and through you, Mevle, Mado Premier Ministre, même quand vous venez ici, il y a bien causé ce problème. Mevle inviter Premier Ministre Philippe pour venir ici à une conversation et puis nous.
Non, n'aille parler puis n'aille vous voulez parler puis vous voulez venir assis des puis vous parler pour. N'aille faire ça, n'aille dire ça pour.
Merci Achai. Ni bonne journée, Monsieur Ernest Hilaire.
All right, thanks.
All right, Minister of Government, Deputy Prime Minister, Minister for Tourism, Investment and the Creative Industries, Dr. Ernest Hilaire, my special guest. I know you know that we could have done with some additional time, but the Minister has a 9 o'clock appointment. He did a lot of some additional minutes, time this morning, and we thank him for that. Sylvester Alphonse, who connect more bien. I am one that's different, DSP, different, special, and positive. So don't mix me. No, mix me. Jackson will rise again at 6 a.m. on Monday. We get off to an early start, 6 o'clock. Don't miss a minute. Don't be late. This is the place to be. The new course to discuss. My name is Shannon LeBon. I'm your humble servant. I want to thank you for making us your choice. Thank you for spending the week with us here on the platform. We'll be back, God willing, next week with some more informative, educational, exciting programming. On behalf of my entire team, thank you so much for joining us. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend.